What is good, YouTube? It's That One Camera Guy back again with another video.
And doesn't have a record limit.
This is a really different angle here, but it's for a very interesting video. So I was asked by one of my viewers to comment on my thoughts on the Panasonic GH5. And the only thing I have to tell you is that, yes, that's exactly that. I was working on some review footage for my GPS Wi-Fi video. You can go ahead and check it somewhere over here, which is my shameless plug. But I was out and about, my brother was driving, and then all of a sudden I see this message, hey, Panasonic GH5 announcement. I'm like, what the? So the announcement comes out, I check the specs, I see this video pop up from B&H Photo about the Panasonic GH5. And the first thing that went through my mind was, holy crap, the features on this camera. I am very, very excited about it and very happy about it. But at the same time, it really opens up the doors for the future of camera equipment and gear in general. And here's why, okay? And let me kind of point something out. Something really interesting in the video, and I'm going to show it to you.
Is to record all that stuff with zero record limit.
That's insane.
Let me repeat that again. It's stabilized and doesn't have a record limit.
The guy that was representing Panasonic, he threw shade. He literally threw, I don't know what it was, but he threw major shade at Sony. When you hear him specifically say, it records stabilization on 4K unlimited, or whatever he was saying, unlimited, that was gonna continue on forever. And he literally took a jab right at Sony, basically saying, the ball's in your court, what are you gonna do now, right? That's exactly what he was referring to when he made that statement. He knew right away that he was taking a jab at Sony, and everybody that's Sony fanboying up right now, possibly me included, that this camera is gonna be a game changer. And I was like, damn, I was like, mic drop, everything. This guy totally killed it. This camera, Panasonic, GH5, everything they did makes perfect sense. So I am gonna go through some of the potential features that are really interesting to me. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna go out and go buy a Panasonic GH5, but I'm very excited because here's why. Here's what really excites me about this announcement from Panasonic. It doesn't mean I'm gonna get the camera, but check it out. This is the Alpha 6300 right here. This is the Alpha 6500. Now, they say that these aren't really successors, that they exist on their own line, but Panasonic is showing these other manufacturers, Canon, Nikon, well, Nikon did a pretty good job, right? But Canon and Sony, what a real upgrade is. They're showing these other people what it looks like when you take the feedback from everybody and you work on what you did wrong in the previous generation or build upon it and deliver to the people who support your cameras. They are delivering on that. Now, we noticed the Alpha 6300 came out, and then short after the 6500 came out, and what did we get? We got IBIS, I think IBIS was the big one, the touch screen, and the better buffer performance. Yeah, that was great, but it wasn't a perfect camera. There's still issues. Now, the overheating is better, but I don't know if it's completely removed. But that's what we're dealing with nowadays, and I absolutely, hands down, give a round of applause to Panasonic. Because you know what's gonna happen now? The market has to react. Panasonic has been forcing everybody to react ever since the GH3, GH4 really kind of took the hold on consumer 4K. Everyone had to change their perspective, and Sony jumped on board, then I don't know who else, I don't even remember, but other manufacturers started jumping on board with this whole 4K, affordable 4K, and now Panasonic is again leading the way. And this is kind of those things that, remember when we were all those of you that were thinking about Canon 5D Mark IV, and by the way, Canon 5D Mark IV, great camera. I don't want to discount that in any way, but This is the kind of thing, this announcement, these features that make you excited again about a product that the manufacturer spent a lot of time thinking about and implementing it and putting the right things in there. So, all right, so I've got my list down here. I'm taking a look. As far as the build, they've upgraded. They added a toggle switch onto the camera, similar to what you'd expect out of a Canon DSLR. Huh? They're learning. They've, the rear dial rotates now, similar to what you'd expect out of Canon. They put 2 memory cards into that camera body. That's it. They're killing it. And they put UHS 2. Seriously, Canon? You couldn't do that? Sony? Come on. They put full-size Type A HDMI, a full HDMI. And by the way, they put USB Type C when some of these other manufacturers are still using the older USB 2, what's the older USB 2.0 standard. You know what really shocked me was the XLR adapter. And I remember the yaw recorder thing when the GH4 was announced like a couple years back, and we're like, what the hell is this? Like, we wanted good audio, but we wanted it to be portable on the Panasonic GH4. And then now they took the feedback. It obviously didn't sell as well as they wanted, and they made changes. Now it's similar to the XLR K2M that the Sony has. It's multi-shoe interface. It goes right on the top of the shoe of the camera, and it connects. So there's no additional plugs or anything else that you need to plug into your camera. And they've executed it really well. It looks great in terms of what it's going to be able to do. All right, I am not the best person when it comes to analyzing the specs per specs on the video front. All I can tell you is that those of you who love color grading your footage and getting the most out of your image is gonna love the Panasonic GH4 because of the 422 10-bit color space that they're offering to their users. I think they're even offering 150 megabits at 4K, if not some options later in the summer with the firmware update for 400 megabits. That's like a huge amount of data compared to something like you'll get out of a Canon, which I think is like 4208-bit with their 4K motion JPEG. So you're getting more information, you're gonna be able to color grade that footage a lot better, and the quality is just gonna be much stronger. I think the big elephant in the room right now is how good is the ISO performance gonna be. I think I heard the guy or the website mention it's gonna be 25,600 ISO is kind of the furthest reach of it, which is further expanded than what it was before. I think it was like 6,400, 12,800 on the GH4. I could be wrong. I think it was something like that. So they've definitely expanded the ISO performance. We just have to see some of the results and whether or not it's really any good. And I'm not saying this is great by any means, but look, Sony still has the bigger sensor, APS-C and full frame. And that's gonna afford you some different looks in your footage. It's gonna make you do wide angle better. It's gonna have better low light performance in general. So if Panasonic can find a way to kind of meet it halfway, then they're gonna have a much more compelling camera and they're gonna drive their sales back to Panasonic. I think that's gonna be phenomenal. But here's the other thing. Oh, there was an interview, I could have sworn like by one of the spokespersons for Panasonic, they said something like, well, we don't want to put in-body image stabilization because it does this, this, and this. And we already have lenses that have image stabilization. But guess what? They listened to the consumers, they listened to the market, and they threw in-body image stabilization. Now this camera is going toe-to-toe with Sony and then some. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And you should be too, even though you just recently got an Alpha 6500 and you're like, what the hell am I doing? It doesn't change the fact that you still have a really good camera. And I think, and here's my final note on this. I'm happy that the manufacturers are gonna end up reacting to this. It's gonna cause a ripple effect. And those of us that have Sony cameras, unfortunately, are gonna again see an iterative update of the A7 series. But we gotta remember that when Sony went from the first A7 generation to the 7 II model or generation, they made some big leaps and bounds of putting a 42 megapixel sensor and a really high ISO performing camera. We gotta give them those laurels at least. So we could expect that the next A7 series is gonna walk the floor with some of these upcoming cameras. And I'm sure I'm hoping Sony's been listening and they understand where the market's going. And Panasonic, man, they just blew the floor away. I mean, I literally, when I saw that guy make that announcement, he was literally saying this, this, and this. And he finally said, hey, but it records unlimited 4K with in-body image stabilization. And I was like, mic drop, this guy just threw the biggest burn on Sony. And literally, because Sony cameras heat up. And I was just laughing and laughing because it's true. It really is true. I mean, I love my Sony gear. I mean, it works well, but it does have those issues. And I think this is a really good sign for everybody moving forward. So, am I gonna get the Panasonic GH5? I don't think so. I do love the fact that it has 4K at 60 frames per second because again, I'm all for maximizing quality in your production, but I think the majority people probably aren't gonna need it. And I think the only thing I need to see as well is the autofocus gonna improve? Is it gonna match something like Canon's dual pixel autofocus or even Sony's continuous autofocus ability? Because Sony's is actually not too bad and Canon's is pretty good. So folks, that's all I got for you in this video. I would love to hear what you have to say, whether you like it or not, whether you like what I had to say or you hated what I had to say. You can thumb up this video, you can thumbs down this video. I don't really care. I just wanted to make this video and response and again, answer my viewers' question that asked about my opinion. And that's what I had to say. Folks, I'll see you later. Bye.